And we are live. So we have here Natalia Paulino, someone who is also known in the office as the realtor mom or real estate mom.
Yeah.
And in this business, the burnout rate is going to be super high. And, quite frankly, so in our office, when you hit a certain level of sales, you're going to hit a cap, right? What that means is that this person has grinded their face off and there's a certain level of excellence that you're going to see in the way they operate, right? With that said, you capping this year is, I think that deserves a huge kudos, by the way.
Thank you.
And with that said, I find myself honored to be able to partner with you on certain deals that we've had. And so before we go any further, I think that huge credit is due to you because girl, you worked your ass off for that, right?
Yes. There's a lot of stuff that people saw and a lot of people that didn't see behind the scenes stuff that was going on. Um, but yeah, it took a lot to get where I got, and also just trying to focus on my personal situation and how I was going to get there and stop comparing myself to other people who maybe got there faster than I did or at different points than I did, because we all are in different situations. And I finally this year got to the point where I was like, focus on you. What do you have to do to get there? Because your situation, your goals, whatever you're doing are completely different from somebody else in the office. You know what I mean? And
Hmm.
I was very focused this year. I was like, that is it. This year I'm going to cap. No excuses. My daughter was in school, basically full time. She went to school and then she had after school, which gave me a few extra hours to really focus on my business. And by the time I got home, it was all about her, right? I wasn't feeling so much of the like blending act of like having her with me and trying to call or follow up with emails and things like that. I felt like this year everything was more separated and balanced where if I was working, I was working. If I had my daughter, I had my daughter. And I felt like I was less stressed this year than I've been the previous years. And I still hit my goal.
And that's absolutely amazing. For me, one of the trademarks I would say of someone who has either mastered or getting closer to mastery is they make it look easy, right? And so,
Yeah.
you know, one of the things I see is some of the higher performing agents. It's like that duck metaphor, right? They look calm and collected, just coasting through. But
Yeah.
meanwhile, their feet are just right. And I think from the moment I met you first in the office, there was a little bit of like, she seems really calm and collected, right? Like, and then I remember the first time, I forgot what we were working on. We were working on something, and you're like, "Oh, we got this, we got this, we got this, we got this." I'm like, "Oh, damn! All right, you know what? Okay, okay, like the, she's on point. Holy crap!" But for me, that speaks to your level of mastery, right? And that's why I think I nerd out when with you, Carl, Patricia, like all the people that I've rubbed elbows with, and they hit their cap. I'm like, I'm not even surprised. I'm not even surprised. Not at all.
There's a lot of
So
behind the
kudos.
scenes that people don't get to see. I feel like every agent I have seen like in a moment where they're freaking out or they're like blowing up pissed off because something didn't go according to plan or whatever the case is. But then we like switch modes when we're in front of our clients or we have to make that call to touch up with our clients and let them know what's going on. Not just if there's an issue, but the solution to the issue before, we're just like, hey, this is what's going on. We don't know what we're going to do. Like, we already have that solution in place. And this year that the past 2 years that I've been in the office more regularly, I've seen even people that I look up to, they all have problems, right? Nothing ever goes smooth. But like you said, most of us don't see that unless we're around each other like every single day.
And that's fascinating for me because if you explain it in the eyes of a jerk, it's like we don't care. No one cares, right? Did you
Mhm.
execute? Yes or no, right?
Right.
But obviously, we are humans, and the nature of this business is such that it is, more than what most people outside the industry realize, is very demanding,
It
right?
is.
And so, if you have showings lined up, your car breaks down, or the trains are all delayed, or you're trying to get to a closing table, it turns out that they can't even get the final walkthrough done, and now the lawyers are pissed, and like these things happen, right? And
Right.
if you are the point of contact and you lose your head, then your clients are gonna be like, did I make a mistake trusting this person,
Right.
right? And time and time again, every time I've seen you in these situations, you're just kind of like, you want a piece? Come get some, you know.
I've literally just gone out of the office to take a walk before I have a meltdown when something's gone not according to plan. And then I've had it like I've left the office, gone for a walk, having a conversation with another agent, and then I have the attorney on the phone as well, and we're all just talking through like, okay, so this is where we're at now. Where are we? What are we gonna do to keep the ball rolling and get our clients to the finish line? Without, what can we do before we bring them in? Like, can we solve it before having to let them know what's going on? And I feel like most of the times when you have that open communication, especially with the attorneys or the lenders, whoever else is on the team, it's so important to have that because you can alleviate and prevent a lot of the stress that the client um, might have if they're aware of what's going on. And I've seen that several times with these most recent deals. There's just like always an issue. I don't know if it's possible to have like a smooth deal with no issues. I feel like there's always something. But I've been lucky that the teams that I've been working with most of the time clients don't know what's going on. You know, it's already taken care of. We've already handled it. Maybe we let them know what's going on. Or I always tell my client, this is where we're at, but this is what we're doing. So just so you know, like we're good. We're still moving forward.
I mean, I'm kind of wondering if it's worth getting into some of the particulars this year, but I think I'm gonna have to save that for next time
Yeah.
because
We
I
can
think
make
you
a
and I
list of
alone, we've,
stories.
oh yeah, and I think I'm gonna have to wait a little bit before we start airing those out.
Yeah.
And we'll just file that under the tea still brewing.
Well, we have a really good listing right now with its own issues, right? We don't want to
Hmm.
disclose those issues. But
Hmm.
I think that one, once we do finally close on that, that's going to have a lot of really good stories and
Hmm.
also a lot of good information that we could share with
Hmm.
future sellers or buyers, things like that. Um, what they could expect in certain situations, how they can prevent them, whatever the case is.
Absolutely. And now that I have someone who is a verified real to gangsta on board, let's go some low hanging fruit, right? So, for those who are considering selling, right? Do you have anything off the top of your head? I know there's gonna be the standard list of stuff, but
Right.
do you have particular things where if you're gonna sit with a potential seller, you're like, just so you know, let's expect these particular things or get these things ready.
What would I inform them to do?
Hmm.
Yeah. For me, it's always about starting with their goals. You know, what are their plans with the sale? That way we kind of create more of a plan, not like, let's just get your home sold. And I think that's important because from experience, I've seen other agents where they're just so focused on the sale. Let's get the home sold. Let's get the highest price. Let's sell as fast as possible. But I think it's really about knowing what the client needs and wants. Not everybody's like focused on the highest price. Not everybody's focused on the fastest sale. Some of them still aren't aware of where they're moving to, what that market is like, and that's important too. I've been in a situation where after we kind of review that, they realize it's not really in their best interest to sell and move because maybe their quality of life is gonna, it's not gonna be the same, whatever the case is, or they're not realizing how quick the market is going in wherever area they're moving to, or how competitive it is. And that recently was, I think it was South Carolina that these sellers wanted to move to. And, we were in touch with another Keller Williams agent over there that was going through it with them, met with them, I think, two or three times. And it didn't seem like it was going to be the best move for them. So I think they're kind of waiting. But at the same time, we're staying in touch because they do want to move. They have kids. Maybe they'll move after their kids are finished with school, but right now, maybe it was in their best interest. So I think it's really about educating and going over a full plan with a seller. and making sure they understand, is this the best move for them now or should they wait? You know, it's not just about getting a sale and closing the deal so you have another check or another, transaction you can put on your list.
I think it pays more dividends that way. I mean, even around my neighborhood, we do have folks who's like, oh, look, maybe we should sell, right? And the question is, with these interest rates, I don't know if it makes sense to. For me, I find myself sometimes tempted to be like, well, you could absolutely sell and you're still going to get multiple offers, that whole jazz.
Hmm.
But if I take a step back, I'm like, but what is it that you want? Like, I mean, obviously, you don't want to be in this house, right? I get
Yeah,
it. That's why you want to sell. And your problem is that the places you would consider moving to right now, it's not gonna look pretty on your bank statement because of the monthly spend. Fine.
hmm.
But what is it that you want? Like, what outside of this transaction, what is it you're looking for? And
Right,
once you go through it, sometimes it's like not going to look into your piggy bank, but it looks like the need isn't that big right now, right? And correct me if I'm wrong, but I think you could hold off a couple of years if you need to. And looks like your finances will be stronger then, your situation will be different, and we'll talk then. He's like, I didn't want to. I was hesitant to talk to you because I thought you were gonna like shoot in straight in to try to get a listing. I'm like, look, a
yeah,
listing it's gonna be great, but what good is it gonna be if I push you into a sale and you're not happy? And whether you blame me or not, it's still not gonna sit well with me, right?
right,
But if you do blame me, then what good is that for me for the future, right? Like my goal here is, on average, if you're there for a decade and you move again, I want you to call me, not
right.
not be like, no, that Alex guy, don't call that dude. He's just money hungry, and he's gonna scum you over. That's not what you want,
Right.
right? And I think a lot of agents intentionally or unintentionally might find themselves in that bucket. And my thing would be, our office folks say the same thing over and over again. Worry about the money later. Focus on helping your clients first, which sounds so cheesy, but
Yeah.
I'm finding that the dividends seem to pay much better on the doing things the right way. And
Yeah, they want to, I mean, at the end of the day, they're going to talk about their experience with you. Even if they don't sign with you, they probably have a friend or family member when they hear like, "Oh, I'm thinking of selling or moving," and they're going to say, "Oh my gosh, Alex, you have to meet Alex because he wasn't just about the sale. He went through my wants, my needs, and he helped me realize like maybe I'm not really ready. I feel like I could trust him. You should go to him." I think trust is
oh,
like a really big thing when it comes to our type of like our business. Like we're not just sales, we're customer service based. And I think a lot of people forget that because they're so focused on the sales side of everything.
judging from the course of performance that you've seen this year for yourself, I think that you've definitely put your money where your mouth is, right?
Yeah.
Um, were there any particular things that you changed, or any actionable things that you adjusted that kind of put you over the hump in terms of success?
Honestly, it was just doing what I know I needed to do and being consistent with it because I know what I needed to do, but I was always, I don't know, losing focus or basically trying to avoid what I know I had to do, like everybody else
Mhm.
does. Like when it comes to even just making calls, most people try to avoid that or just making those extra connections and number of contacts, things like that. It's really just basic stuff. And I know because I've been in the office, I used to be in the Bay Ridge office, and it's like the same people that are top producers. I observe them, and they're all doing the same thing. They show up every day. They're the first ones in the office. They're there sometimes the last people in the office. But one thing that they're always doing is they're like making their calls and, following up with people or whatever they have to do their lead generation. And that's what I was doing. But also, I was trying to focus on where I see most of my business come from and really focus on that as well. Because from the beginning, I feel like a lot of my business has come from referrals and social media stuff. People have either seen me on social media and they've reached out to me, never met them before, or they'll send me a referral, or just people I have met in person sending me referrals as well.
Well, I mean, that means you're doing something right.
Yeah,
Oh man, I
I'll
mean,
take it
is
as a
there?
compliment.
You should. I mean, sometimes it sounded like a line almost, right? Like the best way to compliment your realtor is to
Yeah,
provide them with, right? And it's like,
Send me a referral.
send me a referral. But, quite honestly, it is very easy in these, high stress scenarios, for from a seller or buyer, and from that standpoint, it's a very potentially stressful environment, right? It's not, oh, we just put down $500 on a deposit. It's, this might be someone's life savings, right? This might
Right,
be the only real asset that they have. And so if it's very easy to be irked by any little thing, right? And I've seen many cases where the agent might not have done anything wrong, but it still didn't make their client feel all too good, right?
right,
And so for you to navigate that space and still doing it in that manner in which at the end of the process they still look back and say you should not trust anyone else with your home ever. Like
right.
talk to Natalia, give her a call. Here's a number. Here's an email. Here's a social media. Like, you know what? Like, if you want, I'll schedule the coffee meeting for you. Right? Like, it's,
Yeah.
for me, there's that level of trust. And from the conversations we've had, I think that you've paid your dues. Right? It's very easy for someone to say, I liked her, but go talk to another agent, right? It's, how
Right.
easy is it in these scenarios, right? Unless you're their best friend,
Yeah.
which that's also consistency in time. Um,
I think we also
did
have
have
to be aware of and be careful about this whole shift towards technology and AI and things like that, because people say, oh, we can't be replaced, but you actually could, right? And I think the part that keeps you from being irreplaceable is that level of customer service, the amount of
Mhm,
like engagement you have with your customers that a computer can't have. Because I mean,
mhm.
realistically, could they? Yeah, everything could be done online. You could list a home online. People could, schedule themselves online. Sellers could open the doors by themselves. There's just a lot of stuff that people don't realize. Are you replaceable? You are, but you make that choice by the amount of engagement, involvement you have with your clients and the level of customer service you're going to provide them.
And I think that's where it's interesting because for me, I'm, me, I love social media, I love digital marketing.
Yeah,
And, when people come to the flip side, it goes, well, that's all I need to do. I'm like, no, because I feel like the digital end of things is a force multiplier, right? But at the end of the day, because you still need to deal with people on a for the transaction itself and stuff like that, and we've seen how well, algorithmic purchases can go horribly wrong, right?
yeah,
And so I think that's that touch. It's, I do love relying on AI. I love relying on things to make my workflow better, more efficient, and things of that nature. But I could also see how if you don't know how to handle these tools, you can hurt yourself. And I know that there are, I bumped into someone last week and he's like, look, I don't even think I need a realtor. And for me, it's like, for my brain, I'm thinking, okay, here's another Visbo. Do I want to objection handle this and, whatever? And he's straight up like, well, I have all the AI stuff pulling me information and data, and I did this, that, 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 that. Part of the reason why you will pay an expert, and let's just take a realtor out of this equation, right? Is they they might not do much in that instance to fix whatever it is that you had, but it's the decades or the thousands of hours of iteration that you're paying for.
yeah.
I'm willing to gamble. And he's like, at the time, I'm like, look, I'm not even going to ask for a listing. Do yourself, do yourself a favor. Do it if you want to, but I'm sure you're still going to get people making offers. But I'm willing to gamble that you are either going to find yourself in legal trouble, or
Right.
more than likely, you're not going to sell it in the time frame or for the dollar amount or both that you're
Yeah.
looking for, right? And is there a guarantee with a realtor? No, but your chances are going to be significantly higher. And he's like, yeah, well, we'll see because, I negotiated this car. It was supposed to be impossible. All right. Good luck. Good luck. Right.
I
And
get
he's
it.
like, you know
And
what?
it's, they can give false
Yeah.
information without even realizing. And I've witnessed that taking my buyer to FSBO, for sale by owner. I mean, we're in contract now. We're hoping to close any day now, but, that owner was just giving them so much information that was incorrect. And I kept correcting her. And, she was like, oh no, because this is how we bought it. This is what the previous seller told us. And after a while, I stopped trying to correct her. But when we left, I told my buyers, I was like, don't listen, just erase everything she said. Okay, just
Hmm.
erase everything. I was like, this, and this. And I went over everything that they needed to go as far as like what was legal, the C of O, things like that. And they were still okay. But this lady was trying to oversell the property for what it
Hmm.
was. And that's another thing with like the risk of a for sale by owner, like you're giving incorrect information where they could get in trouble, or even if it moves forward, at some point it might come to a halt when the attorneys pull up the correct information, and all of a sudden the buyers are going to walk away, or whatever the case is. The deal's going to fall apart. Then they're set behind in
Hmm.
time. There's just like so many issues that could be prevented by having an actual professional real estate agent. This is what we do for a living type of person.
And to add to that, I think that's something that we commonly see as well, where an experienced agent, they have an understanding of what timelines are supposed to look like, right? And what things need to fall into place for you to close at an appropriate time. And the reason why sometimes this is more important than people realize is from a buyer's perspective. Let's say you have, the approvals and qualifications ready to go. Your mortgage is saying this is the amount of time we'll give you this thing for. And you're thinking, oh, so then we could wait till a week later and we'll, as long as we find a property by the deadline, we're good, right? And we're like, no, no, because the reason why they're giving you a set time is because they're not going to take a gamble of the time frame beyond that. So if you don't
Right,
close in that time frame, you have to go to your lender and say we need to run this credit check again, right?
right.
And so we did have someone recently who's they thought they were good, they were not good, and they realized, oh, these bits of documentation along the closing process were never provided. And so now they're within days of having an expired loan application, and now they're like, oh crap, are we not going to close in time? Do we need to start
Yeah,
this process over again? As that's going to add stress, right? And my thing here is because you've been through these iterations, I would much rather refer someone to someone like Natalia than have someone Google foo something and say, well, this is what the internet told me,
right.
right? And I don't, it's hurtful, man. Like if from the seller's perspective, they think, okay, we should go hire our movers. We can, finally cut off service to the, gas, electric. We could start getting all the stuff to move. And now it turns out we can't do it for another 2 weeks, 3 weeks.
Hmm.
Maybe the deal's dead, right? From the buyer's perspective, like, again, our movers, or maybe we're thinking about hiring contractors, or maybe Johnny's school is starting next month. And so we should get all the registrations done and now realize we might not have a house, right?
Yeah.
And this is what you pay for a good realtor. And this is why you call someone like Natalia, right? The other thing that has impressed me for you is, if I am like, hey, Natalia, I need a guy, right? Lady, guy, Brooklyn thing is, I got a guy, right?
Yeah.
But for me, that's the other, added benefit. If you have someone who deals with these type of things, whether it be contractors, inspectors, roofers, plumbers, electricians,
Right.
movers, junk removal, like so on and so forth, hiring someone like Natalia, you get well, this person has done X amount of work while I was here. It's not testing the waters. It's, I know this
Right.
person, I know their work. Use them, don't use them, but I like the way they operate. Here's a contact. It saves you potentially hours, if sometimes thousands of dollars, right?
Thousands of
And
dollars
so,
if you choose the right, if you choose the wrong person, right?
hmm hmm
Yep.
and it's like the list goes on and on. And I mean, I guess this is going to turn into me gassing you up. Uh, I think that's where a lot of people don't realize that, you're being paid too much is not, I don't agree with it. I don't. And I know that
Right.
there's a class action lawsuit right now with that might change the way realtors operate. No matter what, I would always say get representation, get experts to help you through, especially high dollar value transactions such as buying real estate. And I guess as a segue, this particular year, has there been a recurring pitfall that you wish people would avoid, or like bad narratives you think that are kind of prevalent this year that are kind of nothing burgers, or vice versa?
Mm, I don't know. I guess the biggest thing is like when they are hiring, they do decide to work with you and you're trying to give them advice or like you said, introduce them to a vendor, for whatever they need is just like taking the advice, right? Like I guess it all starts in the beginning with that trust. Like, like find somebody you're gonna have that relationship and trust. Because I do feel like in the beginning, maybe they don't know me as well. And then as they start to know me, they're like, oh man, I should have trusted you for this too. And I should have trusted you for that or whatever. And I'm like, yes, like, please. I have, one of my closing recently, I tried to introduce my seller to an attorney that not just I like actually love and trust, but multiple agents from our office as well love and trust this attorney. And from the very beginning, this seller like wanted to do everything himself, whatever the case is. But the thing that bothered me is the lack of communication from his attorney, but also some little things that should have been in contract that weren't in contract, and that bothered me. I think it ended up working out somehow either way because the new buyer, she's not in a rush to take possession, but that could have been a major issue, you know, for somebody that actually needed that extra time and the buyer wasn't willing to give it or whatever the case is, and if it's not in contract, it doesn't really exist.
Mhm.
So I don't know. I think the main thing is just allowing whoever you hire to do the job and help kind of guide you and trust that like it's in your best interest. I feel like if there's a
Absolutely.
professional you're working with that already has this stuff lined up, it's because they know what they're doing. If they don't have it, then like that's where you would feel like, oh no, should I trust? Like I don't really know. But I feel like when you have like I just feel like when people have stuff lined up and they know like who to call, you should be able to trust them most of the time.
Can't discount the trust but verify, but there are certain agents in this office where, for me, their word is closer to gold than dirt, much closer, right?
Yeah,
And for you, it's like, hey, look, I've used this person. For me, I have yet to go wrong, right?
right.
And so for folks who are curious, on the fence, or just need a little bit of education, feel free to reach out to this amazing realtor mom. But I would be remiss in providing people a means of getting in contact. So, Natalia, want to tell them the best way for folks to reach out to you?
Yeah, always available for you can call me, you can text me 347-941-4246, or you should shoot me an email at nataliap@kw.com. I'm usually responsive pretty quick within like less than 24 hours, if not like within an hour.
And that is why I love working with you. Ah, and I think we're gonna have to do this again. But
Definitely. I appreciate it.
no, I appreciate the time that you take out, and I know it's not easy with your busy schedule. So with that said, thank you guys for joining us, and I guess I'll catch you guys on the next one. Peace.